You know, sometimes you've got to really observe if you really want to see. And by see, I mean like really recognize accidents that might happen. This is just one example of needing to observe in order to really see, in order to really get the most out of the moment. I'll give you an example. You know, and I think this happens to a lot of people. It happens to me. The other day I was, taking care of some stuff in a garden, and I saw the rake. The end of the rake was poking out and up, and across, sort of across someone's path if they were going to be walking by. I mean, not exactly. They could move around it, but it was poking out, and I kind of walked by it. I noticed it. I walked by it. Didn't think much of it. And then I realized, okay, wait a second. That could be an accident waiting to happen. There could be an unintended consequence of me ignoring that, leaving that alone. Really what should be done is the thing shouldn't be poking out. It should be, flush with the surface or leaning against the building. It should not be poking out. That's sloppy. And sloppy equals potentially dangerous and risky, because you don't know. Somebody could slip as they're walking. They could intend to move around it and miss it and slip, and then suddenly they get this thing in their eye, or who knows what. But I think this happens a lot, that we kind of register stuff. We don't register it. We see it, but we don't register it. We don't kind of lock it in. We don't really realize that this is an opportunity to do something, to take action. And so this is a simple example of how you can avoid accidents by really, really try to examine your world. And if you get like a flash of something that seems like, oh, that's odd, maybe that shouldn't be there, take the extra 10 seconds to fix it, to take care of it, so it doesn't become some kind of accident and even possibly a tragedy. Okay, I want to go on to another topic. A lot of people talk about forgiving others, and they say, oh, I've forgiven them. Look, if you're angry at somebody, if you still are holding a resentment towards them, you haven't forgiven them, okay? That's the key. Forgiveness means there's no more charge, there's no more judgment, there's no more resentment, there's no more anger. So if when you think of that person who did something to you 12 years ago, who they said, do you forgive me? And you said, yeah, I forgive you. If you're doing the dishes and you think of the person, and then suddenly you feel yourself getting angry and resentful, and start playing out some conversation you had 12 years ago, you have not forgiven them. This is important because forgiveness is ultimately the key to happiness, inner peace, spiritual evolution, world peace. Forgiveness is the key, and so we each need to play our part. So so you can't give lip service and say, "Oh, I forgive you," and still walk around with a judgment, or still say to somebody, "Oh yeah, they burned me once." That's not forgiveness. That's still seeing through the eyes of the past, and still having judgments about who that person is through the eyes of the past, and you don't know. Right now, you're telling somebody about that person who could be completely changed and different. So it's bad on that level too. Okay, a patient was telling me that her boyfriend, she said, ego dictates what he does, not reality. Yeah, that is a common problem. That is a common problem. We need to get out of our own way. We need to get out of our ego and look at the facts. A lot of times, most of the time, it is our ego, our need to be right, our need to be better than other people, our need to feel superior to other people, our need to do it our way. Our way is the best way. Well, maybe it isn't. The ego gets grandiose, right? Oh, my way is the best way, and if people listen to me, then everything's going to be great. And it doesn't work that way. I mean, it can work that way, but usually, ego imbalances people. The kind of ego I'm talking about, where it's selfish, it's self-centered, it's insecure. Ultimately, there's a need to control. There's a need to manipulate, and we think we're clever. But you look at the data, you look at reality, and oftentimes people who they go forward with ego and not with common sense. You don't exactly necessarily get what you want. So keep that in mind. Really try to look at the choices you make and consider, is this coming from my ego, from my needing to be right, my needing to feel important, my need to have people love me, or whatever? Where's this coming from? Okay, there was the another topic. There was the massacre in Las Vegas, and somebody wrote on Facebook or somewhere, well, at least we got rid of a bunch of Christian rednecks, LOL. So look, that's not funny. That's sick. That's mentally ill. And I'm just wondering if people, when you write this stuff, when you say this stuff, do you actually ever challenge or question what you say, what you think, what you believe? Do you ever question whether you're right or not? There's a self-consciousness that is necessary, not self-consciousness that is shy, and feels insecure and is self-conscious around new people. I'm talking about self-conscious, meaning don't assume that you're right. Don't assume that you have all the answers. Don't assume that your perception of the world is correct. You need to self-reflect and consider the possibility that you could be wrong. Consider the possibility that you could be very wrong and very hurtful and very unloving. And again, it always comes back to treat others as you wish to be treated. If you were in a group of people and someone made a joke about, well, thank God we got rid of a bunch of those idiots, yeah, you'd probably be incensed and scared too, perhaps. It's just not good. It's not good. Not good for humanity. It's not good for you. And this happens probably in all areas, not just when you're, maligning other people. In every aspect of life, you pay attention to that. Second guess yourself. Consider the possibility that there could be another way to look at it. Okay, new topic. I know I have some new topics. Oh, body language, right. I want to talk about body language. This is key. Eye contact, body language. If you're certainly, when you go to when you're going on a date that somebody you met on the internet or whatever, or a blind date or whatever, you get the first impression on a date. Body language, eye contact is important. Body language is important, that you're interested, you're enthusiastic, your facial expressions. This is very important in business relationships, in all relationships, but business relationships as well. If you're going on a job interview, you want to put your best foot forward. You want to put your best game face forward. If you're just kind of like slumped over and, yes, yes, I would like this job because I'm interested in this area, and as opposed to, yeah, I really, I love the idea of working at this company. I'm really looking forward to it. I believe I've got the capacity, the skills, everything that you need. So the whole point is you eye contact, facial expression, intent, enthusiasm. You lean in. You use your hands to embrace, to lean in, to say, rather than have your arms folded or your shoulders slumped or. And a lot of times, and this is kind of an interesting trick, and it is a bit of a psychological manipulation, but if you mirror the other person, they will tend to like you more, because they'll think on a subconscious level that you're like them. So if they're like, got their hand on their chin, and you happen to put your hand on your chin while they am, and you're mirroring them, psychologically, that could give you bonus points. But the bottom line is, to put your best face forward, get the best chance to get the transaction event or result that you want. Be engaged, be involved, be enthusiastic. This is also part of the law of attraction in a way. When you're enthusiastic, when you're open, when you're approachable, when you look like closed down and shut down, people don't want to embrace you. All right. New topic. Do you say, I don't know? Do you say, when someone says, oh, why did you do that? And you go, I don't know. All right. Well, what I tell people is you do know. You don't think you know, but you do know. And if you think hard and you look back to what was going on around the time that you made that decision, what was floating around in your head, if you try to analyze yourself and your actions, you may discover what your triggers are and why you do things that oftentimes are self-sabotaging and self-destructive. So I would encourage you, if you first of all, if you say, I don't know, it doesn't. I don't think it comes off good. It tells people that you really have no clue who you are or what the hell you're doing. And if you say, I don't know, you need to stop doing that, and you need to start thinking, why did I do that? And you need to come up with an answer. Otherwise, you're just bumbling around in the dark. How are you going to get what you want if you don't know why you're doing what you're doing? Yeah. Okay, let's see. Also, do you say whatever? Usually people say whatever when they've lost an argument. Okay, it's obviously a form of disdain. It's a form of to kind of diminish somebody and kind of blow them off and just sort of try to neutralize them. It's really shooting the messenger. You're just being really rude and disrespectful. But the irony of it is that you're just diminishing yourself. And you're not willing to face reality. And the reality is, that's not cool. That's not cool. If somebody says something and you're uncomfortable with it because it rings of truth, maybe you should say, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry about that. I'll try to do it differently next time. Or at the very least, I'll think about it. Maybe you're right. I'll think about it. But whatever usually means you've lost the argument. They nailed it. And that's your flimsy, ridiculous way of not taking responsibility. And everything adds up. And in relationships, you're just damaging relationships when you do that. It's not cool. I encourage you not to do that. What else? Okay, there's got to be more. Okay, some people talk about the road not taken. And usually they get depressed because they think about the road not taken, what they could have done, that fork in the road, and what they could have done different, and how they might have had a fantastically grander, greater life with more, who knows, money, success, wealth, prosperity, celebrity, who knows what, relationships. Yeah, but guess what? Yeah, a lot of people never think about the road not taken. Might have taken you right down a rabbit hole. Might taken you right to hell on earth. So maybe the road not taken. Maybe maybe it could have led to incredible tragedy where you'd have nothing going on, where you're dead or mutilated or whatever. So bottom line, what I'm trying to tell you is, it's not even worth thinking about the road not taken. Whether it's a blessing that you went in one direction or a curse that you went in one direction or another. Again, you're just living in the past. What's important about the road not taken is if you feel there were missed opportunities that you could have taken and didn't, ask yourself, hey, it may be late in the game. You may be old and gray, but it should never, in my opinion, it's never too late to have a dream. And it's almost never too late to have a dream come true. So if there were missed opportunities, ask yourself, well, now, today, am I in a position to maybe still go after that dream in some way, in some fashion? You never know. You never know. Okay, what else? New topic. Okay, again, I've been talking about people paying attention. And so this is a scenario that happens at my office. When people come to my office, I don't have a receptionist. I don't have, a bell to ring to say that, to let people know that to let me know that they've shown up. So that certainly confuses people. But I do have a sign on my door, and the sign on the door says, if you show up early or on time, please just have a seat. Don't knock. Because I'll come out and get you at the appointment time. I'm very punctual. But the sign also says, but if you come late, then you need to knock, because I'm not going to know you're there. If I'm not going to come out every 2 seconds, basically. That's not what the sign says, but it basically says if you come late, knock. If you're on time or early, don't. Okay, so what happens? It's invariably X number of people. It always happens. There's new people who don't read the sign, and they'll knock and disrupt in a sense distract and disrupt the appointment I'm engaged in. And the reason why they knocked is because they didn't read the sign. And so I just find it interesting. Well, there's two things. I find it interesting that you come to a doctor for the first time and there's a sign on the doctor's door and you don't read it. That I find that fascinating and problematic. But the other interesting thing is there are people who do read the sign and still knock. And then when I said, "Did you read the sign?" and they go, "Yeah, it said to knock." They didn't read it right. So these are handicaps and it's not just that. It's not like, oh, well, these are mentally ill people. No, I hate that term in general, but no, it doesn't have to be somebody who's deeply depressed or anxious or confused or psychotic or bipolar. It could be, most people. This is just normal people. This is, I think, I'm trying to tell you, I think this is a trait that just normal people have of not paying attention. It seems like a lot of people have subtle forms of ADHD or attention deficits where they don't put some forethought into stuff. And when they do look at something or read something, they're fast. They scan. They don't read. It doesn't register. They're not thinking. A lot of us are on automatic pilot. And the bottom line of all the stuff I talk about is, if you want to have the most efficient, effective life, if you want to self-actualize in whatever way that term means, you got to pay attention. You got to pay attention. You've got to be observant of the outer world and your inner world and your inner thoughts. You've got to look at your behaviors and ask yourself, why am I doing this or that? Yeah. What else we got? A new topic. Can you make a video about what makes a person mature and the importance of being mature? Okay. So, wait. What makes a person mature? Okay. Well, they're the same thing. What makes a person mature and why it's important to be mature, it's kind of the same thing. In my opinion, maturity is having critical thinking. Critical, logical thinking. And not allowing your biases, your confusions, your fears, your judgments, your hopes, your fantasies, your dreams, your sense of entitlement, your whatever, your low self-esteem, your high self-esteem. Critical thinking is what makes people mature, because it's children who are impulsive and reckless. It's immature people, not just children, sorry, because many children do become mature, but you can be very immature as an adult and you can be kind of a child as an adult, if you're not using critical thinking, if you're not looking at the evidence and data. That's what makes you mature. That's by truth, sticking to truth and looking at the facts and looking at reality and not reacting emotionally and recognizing that feelings aren't facts. That's maturity. Maturity is taking responsibility for your actions. If you say or do something that's wrong, you need to apologize and make amends. Take responsibility. That's maturity. Maturity is the responsibility of taking care of yourself, physically, financially, emotionally, spiritually, and if you have family members, taking care of them, not sloughing off on your responsibilities to family. If you decided to make a family, you have a responsibility to take care of them. All of this stuff is maturity. Now, while I was talking about children and what makes children, that children become mature adults, I've had patients who act like children. And when I treat them like children, by pointing out to them, like by being an adult or being a parent and pointing out to them the childish behavior and that they need to step up, and that's my job, isn't it? They get mad. They get mad at me. They say, you're treating me like a child. Hey, if you act like a child, you can't be angry at somebody for treating you like a child. But people don't want to make that link. They just go, you're treating me like a child. Now, I'll give you an example, and some of you may think that this was wrong of me, but I feel it's my job to not only make not only make your life easier, but to make my life easier, but also to point out stuff that is probably getting in your way in other areas. So, for example, I had a guy that I hadn't seen for a while, and patient, and comes back and a couple of years later. And so we set up the appointment, and then before the appointment, he goes, "Oh, can you send me your address again? Because I forgot it. I don't have it." So I sent him the address. Okay. So then we set up. He comes, and we set up an appointment in 2 weeks later, and he texts me before the appointment. He says, "Can you send me your address? I don't remember it." Okay, so I wrote back. I said, "This is the address, and please put it in your phone or in your address book or contact list or something, because I would prefer not to have to let you know every time we have an appointment what my address is." And he goes, "Oh, wow." And then he cancels the appointment and says, "I think I'm going to go in another direction with my therapy." So he was offended, and I felt, wait a second. I didn't say anything to him. I said, "Fine, have a nice day. Good luck with your new doctor." But this was an opportunity for him to learn something. You know, initially, the first time, you didn't remember. Okay, maybe you threw out my address somewhere. Fine, or you deleted it. You thought you'd never see me again. Great. But after the first time, when I say, "Oh, this is the address," you should take responsibility and put it in your phone or address book or whatever. And it's like, I'm not your secretary. I'm not your mommy. You need to do that. And it's not appropriate to a second time to bug me. And if I hadn't said anything, then most likely it could have happened a third time, and the fourth time, and the fifth time. And even though it only takes me like a matter of a few seconds, you know what? When you've got like 300-400 people, and on any one day you could get 20 or 30 calls, it matters not to have to like answer things and do things that are unnecessary because people aren't considerate and also aren't efficient. So it was inconsiderate to me to put me in that position again, but it was inconsiderate to him because he probably does this in other aspects of his life, and he probably annoys other people, and so this is a way he's actually being self-sabotaging and self-destructive. And I was teaching him, a valuable lesson. Now, maybe I should have prefaced it by saying, "Hey, listen, I think you're a great guy, and I'm glad we're working together, but I have a valuable lesson I'd like to share with you." So yeah, now that I think about it, I could have been kinder and gentler and validated him first before I told him what was going on. I assumed he could handle it as an adult, and he would just go, "Yeah, you're right." And many people do. They go, "Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I should put it down. I will put it down. I won't do that again." Many people do that. But I could have been nicer and more generous. But the point is, it's not about me. It's about you. It's about if you're doing this kind of stuff in your life where, if you get a phone number and address, don't throw it down on the desk somewhere. Don't stuff it in a drawer. Put it in your contact list. Take the extra 10 seconds. Become efficient. Become focused. Because later on, when you may need it, you don't want to be hunting around for it, and you don't want to be like bugging other people. You want to be self-sufficient and self-reliant. Okay. I think that's it. Take care.